Hi there, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us for this special virtual screening at the GI Film Festival 2020. I'm John Decker. I am the Director of Programming at KPBS, and thank you very much for joining us here on this warm Friday evening here in San Diego. We have the producers and a couple of Donut Dollies that have joined us this evening, so I will take a moment to introduce them. First off, to my right, perhaps to your left on the upper side, is Jim and Jess. They are co-producers of the film, and we'll be able to talk with them a little bit about the production of the film and the ideas behind it and the goals behind the film. Sharon Cummings and Sandy Roden, too, the Donut Dollies. Hello, ladies. Sharon, of course, was highlighted in the film. You probably see her there. And Sandy is also here on board, and they'll both be able to tell us a little bit about their particular experiences as Donut Dollies during the Vietnam War and what it was like to be there. So keep in mind that we'd love to have your questions. We'll be here until just about 9 o'clock, so that's about 25 minutes or so. If you have any questions, be sure to write them into the comments section of the screening, and then I'll get them right here in the chat window, and we'll make sure that we ask your questions, and then we'll get them answered as best we can. So again, thanks for being here, everybody, and hope you enjoyed the film. Every time I see this film, and I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times, I cry. It's such a terrific film. It's so touching because the characters and first of all, the journey of discovery and the journey in modern times to rediscover the Donut Dollies is so touching. And Sharon, I said I wanted to start my questions with you because you were in the first wave of Donut Dollies, and really, I think a lot of people that see this film, probably had the similar reaction as to I did. I said, well, I had no idea that the Donut Dollies even existed. Can you tell us all a little bit about what your experience was like as a Donut Dolly?
First of all, if I were there and I was with a bunch of guys, I'd go, "Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm from California." Did that. And that way you immediately made contact with the guys that were also from your state. We had a lot of state competition stuff going on. But I had just gotten out of college. I was 21. My first job, I needed a job. I certainly didn't want to have to go home and live with my parents. And my mom was working for the Red Cross, told me this program was opening up. I had no idea. Nobody had any idea. So I went to San Francisco. I interviewed for the job. After the interview, they said, well, where do you want to go, Vietnam or Korea? Well, I knew nothing about the job. They didn't care that I knew nothing. I figured, well, I bet not many people decide that they want to go to Vietnam, so I'll just go to Vietnam. 2 weeks later, I was in Washington, D.C., training, and off we went to Vietnam. So when I got over there, I was in the first group of girls actually trained in Washington, D.C., and went directly from the States to Vietnam. The other girls that were already there, excuse it, but my cat has to be on my lap.
That's who it is.
It's just the way it is right now. So we were the first group that had gone over. The girls already in country had come down from Korea to help start the units. I was sent to Cameron Army. I was there for 6 months. We were setting up a center. There were only 6 girls and who knows how many thousands of boys, and they were boys, on the base. We also got our clubmobile going, so we would write programs, take them out into the field, take them to those units that really couldn't make it all the way into our center. We were going into places where the USO couldn't go in and set up their own recreation centers or special services. So we were the alternative to the guys going to the clubs and just getting drunk. So we got quite a following. It was an amazing experience. Unlike the film, or maybe like the film, I never thought about the danger. None of us girls did. We just went out and did our job every day. So.
Sandy, thank you, Sharon, and hello, Katie.
Yes, sorry.
That's all right. You know, being at home and working at home like so many of us are doing these days, you know, the animals are just part of the background. So,
They are.
thank you, Sharon, for sharing that. So, Sandy, I want to turn to you then, to sort of follow up with what Sharon was saying. Did you ever feel, now you came in the late '60s, did you ever feel like you were in danger? Did you feel like this was a dangerous thing to do when you went to Vietnam?
Simple answer, no. But
Yeah.
I can't. So, but I can't stop at simple. First, I want to do a shout out to all the Vietnam vets that are out there.
Oh, yes.
We love you. We loved you then. We love you now. I wish we could see you. I don't think it's fair you can see us after 50 years because in my mind you look the same. Okay, so close your eyes and think of us as we used to be. So that's what's fair about this.
Yes.
As far as not feeling safe, I don't think I ever really thought about it. But let me just tell you one thing that happened to happen. We talked before, everybody's experience is dependent upon many variables, and obviously coming from wherever you are, what's happening on the ground. So I'm there in September of 1969, which is after Tet, which is after a lot of things, but it's starting with the Americanization, it's the withdrawing down of troops. So that influenced people. But during the year that I was there, unfortunately, the 3 Donut Dollies that got killed in 1969, or died, I should say, died in 69. So they talked about that. So what I can tell you at that point, especially Jenny, the one that was stabbed, that goes through, we all come in as a class. Mine was the class of in September. We all come in as a class. So you end up knowing about everything. So at that moment, that was scary, I think, because it was something that we didn't really think would happen.
Wow. Wow. That's so I've got a quick question from the crowd. And again, just to remind you, if you want to leave a message in the chat section, we'll get it right here. How long were the Donut Dollies volunteer service for? So I think that this is 2 questions. First of all, how long was individual service? But then again, how long was the Donut Dollies in existence in Vietnam in theater?
Well,
For either of you,
yeah, we were there from about, I think it was 1965 to 72. Mm-hmm. Everybody, your contract was for 1 complete full year. It was the same as the guys that went over. We also went for the full year.
September, you arrived typically in September through September?
No,
typically?
I was there April 66 through April 67. They were bringing girls in, gosh, every 4 or 5 months. It just,
I see.
When in that whole period, you know, how many classes they were putting through and bringing in.
Yeah.
But there were only 6 girls in my class that went to Vietnam. Some of the later classes had like 15 and 20 in a class that came to Vietnam. Oh, wow. But they were also still sending them to Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy?
Yeah, I was just going to say that so you knew your class. In other words, you came in September, so you left in September. So I would just add something to what Sharon said as we introduced ourselves. Let me tell you. Hi, I'm Sandy. I'm from Iowa. Didn't get a lot of response. Okay, didn't get a lot of response. Okay, to tell you that. But then he would say, and I've been in country since September. Short timer. So short timers was we did a lot around this short timer thing because that's what the guys were looking at. We did a calendar that was a short timer calendar, so they could mark down how many days they have left in country, and so they would always want to say something about a short timer when you would introduce yourself until you were really down to the last of it.
Yeah.
Being so far away from home, you look for those connections that you can have. Jim and Jess, I want to ask you a little bit about the film itself. We can pivot here for just a second. Jess, well, actually, to Jim, I have in my notes here, I wanted to ask you specifically about your inspiration for the film. Where did this idea come from? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, actually, that's from our director, Norm Anderson. And he learned around about the time of high school graduation about his mom experience in Vietnam. And so at that time, he picked up a high-8 camera and just began filming, just learning about her experiences. Prior to that, he knew she had these adventures, but just really didn't know, exactly what it entailed. And then he began to go with her to some of the reunion. The American Red Cross overseas is one group, and then there's the SRAO group. But they would have yearly reunions, and he went there and met a lot of women and filmed their stories as well. So.
Mm-hmm. I have a quick comment from one of our attendees today who says that they themselves were a donut dolly from January 71 to January 72. Just wanted to thank you for making such a memorable film about our experience in Vietnam. Thank you for that wonderful comment. If there's anyone else who was in Vietnam or donut dolly, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi.
So Jess, yeah, it's terrific. Thank you for being here. Jess,
thanks.
Jess, you were saying you did a lot of the legwork in Vietnam. What was it like to visit and to shoot in Vietnam and to uncover a lot of this story and the stories of Vietnam and the pain that inflicted both countries at that time?
Yeah, I think we went over with a lot of trepidation on our first scout, which was about a year ahead of when we shot in, which was March 2015. Mm-hmm. When we spent a month over there shooting. So, you know, we brought a lot of I don't know, that's like our own baggage of what the war meant, and so I was actually pretty concerned, and I found like on the other hand, everybody was extremely warm with us, really happy that we were there. So first of all, I want to say that the people were really wonderful, and then second of all, we did choose to kind of make this an official shoot because we were advised by a lot of people to go over and kind of steal it. Just go over with your iPhone and just get anything you want, you know. But we didn't do that. We decided to go through the proper channels with the Vietnamese government. That meant you know, visas, special visas. Our itinerary had to be like set you know, in stone months before we went there. Every minute of every day, they needed to know where we were. We had minders from the Vietnamese government with us at every step. One that lived with us actually day and night, and then others that would join during the days in whatever area we were. Again, we had great experiences. It is, you know, it was really exciting. I mean, it is seriously, you know, it's still a really communist country. I mean, they shut down the internet a couple of days just because, you know, something happened in Taiwan or whatever is going on. But you know, we really had a wonderful time. We had a really emotional time. We all had tons of pathos experiences with people, and we were sobbing with the Vietnamese as we parted our Vietnamese partners at the end. We really were. So I don't know if I was able to communicate anything there, but yeah.
Well, as a viewer of the film, and like I said before, I've seen it a handful of times, that emotion is very apparent. I mean, it comes through the care and the grace that you took in helping to produce the film is clear in every shot and every frame. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a touching film, and it's such an important film today too. Sharon, I want to ask you, so we have a question from the audience here. Where did the name Donut Dollies come from? Can you tell us a little bit about the history of that term?
It goes back to World War II, when the Red Cross had young women over there who actually had sort of like pickup trucks or vans, whatever they called them back then, except that those girls knew how to fix the engines in those things when they would break down in the middle of the mud. But they actually served coffee and donuts. And so the GIs picked it up and started calling them Donut Dollies. Flash forward to the girls in Korea. They also had donut machines, and they would make their donuts every day and serve them to the troops. Now, Vietnam has a little bit of problem with humidity and rats and whatever else might be out there crawling around. We never saw a donut, or most of us never saw a donut. The closest we ever came was on Sundays. We would have a formal gathering at our center, and the different chefs, if you want to call them chefs, I'll call them chefs, that cook for the different squadrons, they took turns in making sheet cakes and we would get to serve those on Sunday morning. So that was always our treat to them. But we always had coffee and so much Kool-Aid waiting for the guys. And I cannot imagine how much Kool-Aid we went through. That and water pills.
Oh my goodness.
Pills. You know, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
salt pills. Yes.
Sandy, yeah.
I was just going to say with the Kool-Aid, I don't think the guys really, you know, that was not like the highlight of their day, but
No.
part of it was us being there, you know, so we would take Kool-Aid on the flight line or out to the perimeter on many of these camps. There's a lot of perimeter in many of these bases. And so going out to talk to them, to say, how is it going? Or just for them to have a little time with us. That's what they really like. But I don't think the Kool-Aid, I never drank Kool-Aid again after that.
Me either.
It's like, no more.
So the name Donut Dollies comes from World War II and into the Korean War and then into Vietnam. And, you know, World War II and Vietnam are very, very different wars, very, very different kinds of conflicts. So could either of you speak to the different roles then you played? I mean, compare and contrast to the degree that you can between World War II and Vietnam, because Vietnam was so much more of a, you know, it's a psychological conflict as well. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your experiences in dealing in being with the guys and just being a you know, a person to talk to and to play in. I know that you organized some games and some activities. Can you talk a bit about what that was like to play that role there for them while they were in combat?
For me personally, because our experiences are going to differ over the time, but I think no matter what war, the girls that were over there were at the request of our US government, and that was the request to the Red Cross to send the girls over. So we went over knowing it was a morale job. And so no matter whether you were visiting in the hospitals or out on a flight line serving Kool-Aid or in the center or just sitting down in the middle of where they're digging in for a future conflict because you're there because the general said, get on my helicopter, I'm taking you there. It didn't matter where you went. We just went to be that touch of home and that morale boost for the guys and to let them know that, yes, America still loved them and we cared about them. And we just wanted to see how they were doing that day.
Mm-hmm. Sandy, yeah.
And I would say absolutely, that's what it was all about. But I'd say the difference between those women in World War II, in one hand, is our understanding of psychological and emotional needs. So we also spent a lot of time, not just boosting morale, but listening to guys that got Dear John letters or tapes, you know, or listening when they were the ones that lost everybody in their unit and they're walking into your place or walking around. So I think we had, and it was an emotional toll for us because for us, we could not ever kind of cry, you know, we couldn't be the ones that had a bad day. And so we were always up. And so I think that could take a toll on some people differently than others. And part of it is this not thinking about your emotions, you know what I mean? That part of it. So it's not surprising that many of us, when we came back, didn't talk about it, kind of like the military, not for the same reason, but I think that was somewhat the differences between the way that we were viewing them as kind of a whole human being and how we could help with that, whatever they needed.
And I know it was needed badly. I've got a couple of nice comments here. And again, we have about 10 minutes left. So if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the comment area. Here's for everybody, just to tell you, thank you for your service. Hugs and love, Gary, Staff Sergeant, USAF Medic, 6768, Tan Son Hut, Air Force Base, Saigon. Does that ring a bell to either of you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You mean, not him personally, but
no.
Thank you.
The location, certainly.
Yes.
Question for you specifically, Sandy, from somebody in the office. Did you, audience that is.
The office, oh my gosh, the office called. Okay.
Well, it's my office, right? So anyway, did you move around to different camps a lot? And did you travel or did you travel with the same group of women mostly? So this is for you, Sandy. Tell us about moving around and the group of women that you were with.
Well, first of all, I would say the American Red Cross was okay for us to date, but they didn't want us to get too enamored with anybody at any spot. So they purposely moved people around. Okay, so
Yeah.
we didn't ask to be moved. We were told we were being moved. So I was in 3 places: Chuiwa, Camron, Quinyon. But we always typically we're with different people. So when we came in the September class, everybody went to a different unit. Theoretically, I happened to be with one person. We went to the same place. So you might come back to somebody that you knew in your class, or you might come back to somebody that you served with, but it wasn't intentional. You know what I mean? It was just the way that it happened. So I think all of us, some of us were at 2, some of us were 3. And then sometimes we did a TDY, a temporary duty assignment, because there was a need in a particular place. And so we were able to go and be just for a short time in another unit to help out. What did you ask?
That was it, yeah. Sharon, were those your experiences as well early on?
Yes, the only thing I would add was that when we did do our programming, if there were 6 girls in the unit, then you were probably programming with a different girl every time. When you went out, you'd be gone all day doing a specific program, and then do that program for several days while another program is going on the road and they're starting that. So it was always different in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I was also at 3 different locations: Cameron Army, Long Bend 2nd Field Forces, but we lived in Benoit, and then at Cucci with the 25th Division.
Very good. I've got a couple of questions I'm going to wrap up with, and we only have a couple minutes yet. And this is for Jim and Jess. Gentlemen, what would you like people to take away from this film? What is it that you hope that today's generation, takes away from this film, and as it is a look back at a very significant time in our history?
For me, it's the selflessness that these wonderful women showed us. It's almost destabilizing. I'm completely in awe of it. And I think that when we've had younger people see the movie, volunteers, especially people that want to go into volunteering, they're really struck by that. I really, that for me is right now, I think, especially right now, kind of everything, the care for one another, just the, profound love. And
Jim?
Well, yes, I would agree with what Jess just said. It's an amazing story. It's something that I didn't know. It's not taught. It's really doesn't appear to be part of the historical record. And, I think it's very important, I think it shows a humanity, a side of humanity that was part of Vietnam for the men, for the women. And it just really has, I get choked up,
Yeah. Well, I think you hit the humanity of it all. I think that's what this film is so successful in demonstrating, and the real care and the love that everyone has. And my last question, again, for both you, Sharon, and Sandy, what do you hope the legacy, or what do you think? Not just the film. I'm talking about the Donut Dollies themselves. It's like, what is the legacy of the Donut Dollies? And I guess I'll just leave it at that. What do you think the legacy of the Donut Dollies is?
Oh, Sharon, want me to go?
It doesn't matter.
Go ahead, yeah.
Go ahead. You take it first.
Well, I don't know about legacy. Legacy is a big word, but I think the concept of people being able to think about the other, especially in this world right now, I think thinking about the other, maintaining self, and facing the worst that can happen, which is war and death, And I hope part of the legacy is the idea of how we can move forward in peace and hope and love. So I think we didn't know what we were doing. We were just young. We were there because we wanted to do something. And I think we did. We touched people's hearts. And I think that's the legacy of anything, anytime you do anything for someone else.
And what I'd like to add to that is that I think in our country, if there is a need for people to go and help, and I know the American Red Cross is always ready to send people wherever they're needed, you're going to find volunteers to go and do that, just because our country does have people of all ages that will go and just selflessly, is that a word?
Selfless.
Yeah. What was that?
That was a beep. Selflessly,
Right.
go ahead. Yes.
Yes.
You're on.
Yeah, I just think that there's always room for volunteers, and you're going to find them.
And John,
Beautiful.
you're probably going to end up with something, but I would like to be sure that we take a moment to honor those that, now I'm going to get choked up, those that didn't come back, and those that came back, because both ends of that equation are important. And so I think this particular film kind of helps us remember both of those kinds of people, the people that didn't come back and the people that did come back, and how we then will move forward.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sandy, very much.
Very much.
Okay, well, I'm going to wrap things up. I've got a few things to say, but before I do, I want to give a big round of applause for our guests tonight, and we hope that you can clap as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you. It's a terrific film, and it's really, really great to see you guys. Donut Dollies is a terrific film. We're very pleased to be able to share it through the GI Film Festival. Tonight this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the close of the GI Film Festival virtual edition for COVID-19 2020, as we're all moving through this. A big thank you to all of the people involved in making the showcase possible, including the wonderful advisory committee members, many of whom are probably in our audience this evening. Many of the folks working behind the scenes, including Claudine and Carla, who did such great work pulling us together. The Film Consortium San Diego, Jody and the team there, and all of our festival sponsors, which include the California Arts Council and Scatina Daniels Communications. Just FYI, as a reminder, in the email reminder you got for the screening, there was a link to our attendee survey. We sure would like for you to take a moment to fill that out, because we will be doing virtual screenings for a little while yet, and we sure would like to have your feedback on how this is working. So please take a few minutes to do that. Any feedback you have right now is also going to make the GI Film Festival 2021 even better, which, by the way, is currently scheduled to take place May 18th through the 23rd of 2021. So that will be we hope to be in person at that time for GI Film Festival 2021 San Diego, and we hope to see you there. So look for opportunities to come see us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. That's all from me and everybody here at KPBS. It's a pleasure to see you all. And for those of you that we can't see in the audience, thanks for taking time out of your Friday night to join us for this spectacularly wonderful, very touching film. So thank you and good night, everybody. It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.